For centuries, we've been trying to figure out when rivers will flood. But what if the real key isn't just about predicting, but about truly understanding what's going on? Today, we're going to dive into how a super modern, data driven approach is tackling this ancient problem in a place where it matters a lot: Sri Lanka's Jin River. And look, this isn't just some abstract problem. The stakes here are incredibly high. In the Gin River Basin, you've got about 600,000 people living with this constant threat. We're talking about their homes, their farms, their safety. It's all on the line. Which brings us to this big puzzle, right? We have all this amazing technology, more data than we know what to do with, and yet the floods in this area have actually been getting worse, more frequent, and more destructive. So what are we missing? All right, so to crack this mystery, we first need to get a handle on a really fundamental challenge that flood experts face everywhere, and that is seeing the whole picture. Okay, so here's the biggest problem with the old way of doing things. All the data is basically trapped in its own little box. You've got rainfall data over here, river levels somewhere else, and maybe deforestation stats in a completely different file. Nothing's talking to each other, which makes it almost impossible to figure out how one thing is really affecting another. And this is where the hero of our story steps onto the scene. A new technological approach that was designed specifically to tear down those walls. It's called a data warehouse. Now that sounds technical, but just think of it like this. It's a digital command center for all things flood-related. It's one central spot where every single piece of data, rainfall, river flow, land use, you name it, is brought together, organized, and ready to go. And this right here, this shows you the difference in a nutshell. On the left, you have the old way, all fragmented and messy. On the right, the new way, one single source of truth. This lets scientists do what's called multidimensional analysis, which is really just a fancy way of saying they can finally ask how rainfall, deforestation, and river levels all play together at the exact same time. So how did they actually build this command center for the Jin River? Well, it meant gathering a ton of different kinds of information. They pulled together more than a decade of data, from 2006 all the way to 2017. And we're not just talking about one kind of data here. They grabbed everything: daily rainfall stats, daily water levels, yearly changes in how the land was being used, and even the physical geography of the river basin itself. The whole shebang. Okay, so how do you take all this messy, scattered data and get it into one clean, usable system? It's a three-step process called ETL. First, you extract all that raw data from its different sources. Then, and this is the really critical part, you transform it. That means cleaning it up, structuring it, and making sure it all speaks the same language. And finally, you load that nice, clean data into your command center, ready for the real work to begin. All right, the system's built, the data's in. Now for the big reveal. What did they actually find out? This is where things get really, really interesting. Whoa. Okay, so take a look at this. A pattern just leaps off the screen, doesn't it? When the researchers crunched all that rainfall data, one season just stood head and shoulders above everything else. I mean, just look at that bar for the southwest monsoon compared to the others. The difference is massive. We're talking about an average of nearly 81 millimeters of rain on any given wet day during that monsoon. And let's be clear, that isn't just a little bit higher. It's a statistically huge amount, making this season the undisputed heavyweight champion of rainfall for this region. So there it is. The data gives us a crystal clear, undeniable answer. The southwest monsoon, with its incredibly intense and steady rain, is the main culprit. It's the primary driver behind these devastating floods. And when you look at the timeline of actual floods, it backs this up completely. You can see the southwest monsoon was responsible for the biggest floods, like back in 2008, and that absolutely catastrophic one in 2017. But you also see the frequency of these big floods picking up, with a real spike after 2012. But wait, there's more. The analysis pointed to a second really critical piece of the puzzle. The monsoon brings the water, sure, but all the changes happening on the ground, like clearing forests for cities and farms, is like the monsoon's partner in crime. It means the land can't act like a natural sponge anymore, so more of that water just rushes straight into the river, making a bad situation so much worse. Okay, so we have all these insights. Now what? What do we do with this knowledge? This is where that data warehouse stops being just an analysis tool and becomes a real tool for defense. What this means is you can build these really simple but powerful dashboards for disaster managers. Check this out. One key metric is river response time. If the system sees that the river is peaking less than a day after the heaviest rain, bam, the status immediately flashes red. It's a clear, simple, data-driven warning. A flash flood is probably on its way.
So, you see, the data gives us an incredibly clear roadmap for what to do next. We know the southwest monsoon is enemy number one, so we can focus our early warning systems right there. We know that how the land is used is a huge factor, so we need tougher rules to protect natural spaces. The path forward becomes really clear.
And all of this brings us to one final, really powerful question. See, this project wasn't just about this one river. It was about proving a method. By bringing all this separate, lonely data together, we can start to see the hidden connections driving these massive, complex problems. So where do we go from here? What other huge challenges, from wildfires to droughts, could we start to solve if we just connected the dots?